Hello friends, it's Chari, and today I am creating a really fun Thanksgiving pop-up place card project. So I'm starting out with the tiny gift box turkey or peacock add-on. Of course, today I am making a turkey, and I've already cut out all my pieces to create my turkey. Now the face of the turkey I've cut from some kraft cardstock, and I'm adding some inking to this to kind of darken it up. So I'm using some tea dye, distress ink, and my blending brush, and then I will pull in a little bit of vintage photo to just darken up the edges a bit more. Now to assemble my turkey, I have this piece here that is the tail of the turkey, and I've cut some pieces from different colors of cardstock. The small piece that goes on the bottom is cut from some chocolate bar cardstock. Then the next feather up is cut from barn red cardstock. And then this feather is slightly bigger, and then the big one here, that is going to be cut from some canned pumpkin cardstock. Now, of course, there's a little notch there in the tail, and that's because this tail is meant to go on that tiny gift box. So I'll have to fill in that tail here in just a moment. But I do need to glue the face on first so that I have somewhere to attach that last little feather in the center. So I'm dropping his little beak in there. This is also cut from that same orange cardstock. And then I'm adding that little snood. And yes, I did go look that up. That is called a snood, that little piece of red that's on the turkey's beak. Then I can add my last feather at the top. This is cut from some number 2 pencil cardstock. And then I'm adding in those black eyes. It did look a little scary with the red behind the eyes, so the black eyes need to pop into those little holes. This would also be really cute with some googly eyes. Now he has this little pilgrim hat, so I'm adding a glittery brown band to that, and then a yellow buckle that's cut from some sunflower cardstock. And then I can just add this to his head. He's also very cute without the hat if you just wanted the turkey. There's also the little feet, and I'll just put a dot of glue on the top of each foot and just layer those behind. I'm kind of using my grid mat to make sure that they are evenly spaced. Next up, I'm going to work on the platform for my turkey. I've cut that little hillside out of some Noble Fir cardstock. I've cut that T-shape from some kraft cardstock, and then I need to cut the box of my platform pop-up. I'm using the Perfect Pear Fruit Salad 12 by 12 paper, and I'm going to be using this plaid side. I'm cutting this down to a 6 by 6 square, which is the perfect size to cut the platform pop-up from. Now these two pieces match up right beside each other, and I'm going to try really hard to kind of match up my two sides of my platform pop-up. So I've cut that first one out, then I'm lining it up with the other paper, the other square, just so I can kind of get it lined up to where the top of this needs to be. And hopefully when I put this together, that plaid will look pretty continuous around the outside of the box and my lines will line up. Now I can fold this on all of the score lines that the die creates for me to fold them on. And I can just reinforce those with my bone folder. I'll do this to both pieces, and then I will add the adhesive to the little tabs. So there's a long tab here at the end, and then there's this short tab for the box, the outside of the box. I'm doing that to both pieces. Then I'll take that long tab, fold it under, and then fold the whole thing up so that it attaches to the inside of the box. Now before I put my box together, I like to add my little insert pieces. So I'm taking 2 of these T pieces and putting a piece of double-sided adhesive along the top of that T. And we'll get to the third one here in a minute because you can see that it looks a little different over there. I'm adhering my little hillside to each of these T's. Again, that's cut from some Noble Fir cardstock, so a darker green. And one of these will go in the center of the box and one will go in the back of the box. So for the one in the center of the box, I'm cutting off that little tab at the bottom, and then this one will go in the back, so I'm going to fold on that score line. I'm going to put this is the back, let's say this is the back of my box. I like to put my adhesive onto my little tab and then make sure that I flip this to where my adhesive is facing my tabletop. Slide it in till it's flush with that little slot and then push down. Then I can add my one in the middle where I've cut the bottom off. And this will just go right in the center and eventually get sandwiched between my two pieces. This is where my little turkey is going to go. But before I put him on there, I cut a bunch of stitched pumpkins and stitched gourds out of some fall colors. And I'm going to make a big cornucopia of gourds and pumpkins and corn behind my turkey. So for these two pieces right here, they're a 2-part gourd. I need to layer the color behind so that I have that color showing through those openings. And then I need to also assemble my corn. So I've got the bottom part of my corn and I can just layer that on top of the cob. And I wasn't sure if I would end up using all of these things that I cut out, but I actually did. And then I decided that I was going to add some details to these using some Copic markers. So you know how you see those gourds that have the different stripes in them, like different shades of green or different shades of orange? Well, I'm doing that with my gourds and my pumpkins. So then I'm adding some shading to my pumpkins. Now this pumpkin is cut from some speckled eggshell cardstock, so it kind of looks like those pretty white pumpkins that you see. And all I did for all of these is find a marker that was just slightly darker than the cardstock, just to add a little bit of shading. I don't want it to be too overpowering. And I ended up going over all of these. I started, with the ones with the stripes, but the more I went, the more I realized that they all need to kind of match a little bit. So you can see as that ink of the marker kind of soaks into those ones that I've already done, that it's just a subtle change in color and just some subtle shading to where you kind of get a shape of these pumpkins and gourds. Can't forget the corn, so I'm just adding some dots of yellow to the corn so that all of those corn kernels are not exactly the same color. And then of course I need to add a little bit of green shading to those shucks at the bottom. And then I think at this point I had all my gourds done except for this dark green one, so I'm adding a little bit of shading to it as well. Now I need to add all of my little stems to my pumpkins and my gourds. I wasn't sure which colors I wanted to use for which ones, so I just cut a variety of stems in a variety of sizes in both cilantro cardstock and some chocolate bar cardstock. So I just have some choices and it ended up working out great. I did not even need to really cut any more stems once I was done. You can see I had a couple extra there that I just tossed aside. Now I'm adding my little turkey. This is to the insert that will be in the center of the platform pop-up box. And I'm moving him up so that his little feet are right at the edge of that box top. Now for the other little T, I did cut it short and I'm cutting it even shorter so I have the tiniest little notch there at the top. I'm going to fold it on the score line at the bottom just like I did the piece that went in the back. And then I'm adding this to the other half of the box. Again, I make sure that my adhesive is facing my tabletop and snug it down to the slot and then press down. And the reason why I cut this short is because I want to add this little pumpkin to the front. And I just need a little tab for that little pumpkin. I don't need that whole big T. This will go in front of my turkey, so I'm ready to assemble my box. So I'll just pull off the liner paper from that little tab. Then I want to add some adhesive to this whole big rectangle that's going to be in the center. I'll pull off the liner paper from the other tab and then fold this closed like a book, making sure that the two big rectangles are lined up and then the tab is touching on the end. And that will complete the little pop-up mechanism for the box. So you can see that cute little turkey there and the little pumpkin in front of him, which I just think is so adorable. So now to add all of these pumpkins and gourds to the piece in the back. And I want them to kind of spray out like a big cornucopia of harvest vegetables behind my turkey. And you can see as I'm adding these, it's hard to see because I do have to stand this up so I can see what I'm doing. But I do want to make sure that the pieces that I'm adding out to the left and the right, like the pumpkin I've already added and this piece of corn, are not too far out and my box can still close. So you can see that I'm using some liquid glue so I can move them around, and I'm opening and closing the box to make sure it will work properly. Once I kind of have those constraints on the left and the right, then I just need to fill in sort of between them. I'm adding this one little green gourd here to kind of break up the color. And then I'll add this one layered behind the corn. He's probably going to look like he's floating right now because there's nothing behind my turkey. So what I'm going to end up doing is adding that other pumpkin you see there behind the turkey. You're never really going to see this pumpkin when you look at this straight on, but I need this to kind of give me a place to build up this big pile of gourds and pumpkins. So now I have a place to add this green one behind, and make this layer very tall so you do see some of it behind the turkey. You can kind of see how this is starting to come together, and I can pull my turkey forward so you can see this big bunch of gourds. It looks really great. This would actually look really good even if you didn't want to add a turkey. I think to add this kind of cornucopia of harvest vegetables. Now I had that corn and that little white pumpkin left over, and I thought I would just add a little bit more to the turkey layer. So I'm putting this on the back of that little hill, again making sure that it is far enough in to where my box can close and that little fold will pass right by it. And then I'll add the little white pumpkin to the left side. And I like those pops of the white with those gourds and pumpkins, as well as the pops of yellow. It kind of breaks up the orange and the green a little bit. So I did end up using all of my pumpkins and gourds that I cut out. Now, I did feel like my turkey was starting to kind of disappear in front of all those gourds, and I wanted him to stand out a little bit. So I'm going to add some glitter to his feathers. Now, of course, I need to set this aside and let this dry and not mess with this box while these stickles are wet because it will just make a big mess everywhere. So I set it aside, and while it was drying, I actually made a second box. And this turkey is a little more simple. He has no ink blending and there are no pumpkins behind him. And the reason why I did this is because my initial idea was to make place cards for Thanksgiving, but I realized that all those pumpkins and gourds is a lot of work. So for this one, I'm going to look at this more like a card that you'll send somebody, and I'm adding the give thanks to the front. So I have give thanks. This is from the Thankful Mice stamp set. I've cut a piece of speckled eggshell cardstock with one of these sentiment banners. I'm stamping this in some walnut ink, and then I'll just trim it out so it's a bit shorter of a banner. And this is perfect for the front of this. And it's not a place card where you have to make a whole bunch. This would be great just to have on a table or send to a friend. So now I'm going to take the more simplified version that I created. This turkey does not have the inking on it, and it does not have the pumpkins and the gourds behind it. I'll use the little stitch rectangle that comes with the platform pop-up and cut this from speckled eggshell cardstock. This will be the panel on the front where you can put someone's name. So I'm going to use my Riley's ABC stamps to spell out a name. I'm just going to spell out Chari today, but you could also easily handwrite this onto this little card to use this as a place card holder on your Thanksgiving table. I like to test stamp my words when I spell them out with an ABC set, so this looks really good. I don't need to adjust anything. So I'll stamp this in some brown walnut ink and just add this to the front of my platform pop-up. And I think that this is a really cute way to add something fun to your Thanksgiving table. So here are the two versions of my little platform pop-up place cards. Again, this one is very stepped up. It has a lot going on. I love the sparkly glitter on the wings and that cute little turkey and all those pumpkins and gourds behind him. I just think that this is a really cute card. And then here is a more simplified version. I think that this would be really fun if you had to make multiples and add them to your Thanksgiving table. I also think this would be a really fun project to do with kids as well. They could build the turkeys and make their own little place cards for the family. And here is a final look at those cute little turkey platform pop-up place cards. I think that this is a really fun project to add to your Thanksgiving table. I also think these would be really fun Christmas platform pop-ups for a holiday table as well. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you have an amazing day. Bye!